Ravens Wrap is sponsored by Bud Light, Holiday Inn Express, the Ocean City Golf Club, Comfort Inn, Russell Street Report, the original Green Turtle, and hosted by the Blue Ox Bar and Grill.
In April 1959, Art Wall won the Masters, edging out Carey Middlecoff and Arnold Palmer by finishing birdie, 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 par birdie. 1 month later, Ocean City Golf Club celebrated the opening of their first 18 holes. That course has been transformed now into one of the most scenic golf layouts on the East Coast. Come experience 36 of the most beautiful and challenging holes you'll find anywhere. Ocean City Golf Club in Ocean City, Maryland.
Welcome back in. It is the original Green Turtles Ravens Wrap show here on Comcast Beach TV and Delmarva's Rock Radio 93.5 The Beach, broadcasting from the Blue Ox Bar and Grill, 127th Street and Coastal Highway in Ocean City. Mike Bradley, Bobby Vermillion. We've got our buddy Steve from Ravens Roost 44, and he was a part of the radio broadcast last year. And Mr. Grinch over there, John Gary.
I needed a blocker for me.
Yeah, we do.
You need a bodyguard.
It was getting contentious up here. So, all right, we have got questions from the audience for a panel. So, Ms. Marr, why don't you come up? You're first up, and your question.
My question is directed to John. John, at the game, I didn't see how many times Ray Rice asked to be out of the game. Checked himself out. But my question to you is, why do you pick on Flacco?
I pick on Flacco. He's my favorite quarterback. I want him to be the best. I want him to be great. I'm not happy with 16th or 18th in the league. You guys are happy with that? That's great. I want him to be the best in the league. I want him to be the best.
I don't think any of us were ever happy with 16th, 18th in the league, but I think the way he's played his first 4 years compared to every other quarterback in the NFL has been elite or just barely below elite for the first 4 years. Moving into year 5, you see most quarterbacks, you see a huge difference. I think that's what we hope to see this year with Joe Flacco. Whether it pans out, we don't know. But I think that's what we're saying. When in year 1, year 2, you can't expect him to be like Peyton Manning, or you just can't expect him to do that. You don't run an offense like they run.
We also shouldn't expect him to take a step back in year 4. So
I don't think he took a step back in year 4.
But my point is, I love Joe. I thought he was the pick over Matt Ryan. I said I was probably the first guy. I remember calling Tony Lombardi on the phone saying, this is our next quarterback. Joe Flacco was in a playoff game, University of Delaware on TV. I said, Ravens have their next quarterback, turn on channel 32, whatever. So I'm happy we got him. I love him, but he can be the best. And we saw that, the AFC Player of the Week.
Steve, your thoughts on Joe Flacco's progress?
I actually agree with what you said earlier. I think they finally have the pieces around him to make him successful. I mean, in college at Delaware, he was a quarterback out of a shotgun, and now they have the 3 wides to make him successful. And the young offensive line, so I think he's going to be real good in this offense.
Yeah, there's a lot of youth there, and they've got now a base that they can build upon this in the next 4 or 5 years. They've got guys that are under contract now, so it's good stuff. All right, next question up.
Yeah, a lot of great things happened on Monday night's game. What do you think was the most impressive thing that you saw, and what was the most negative thing that you saw?
It's a good question.
Yeah, I have to say that the most impressive thing were the little things. We talked about that earlier. We just didn't see those little things, getting out of the huddle, with being able to read the defense. The play action, really the ball skills from Joe, as well as the selling of the play action. When you run there's sense running a play action if you're not going to act the play. So last year we just see a little hand go out, and the running back not really selling it, and that's why it didn't work. So I'll let someone else handle some other things, but the defense obviously run defense was a concern.
Go, Steve.
I think that, stopping the run, I thought that was the one negative is I just didn't see us stopping the run all night. I thought that offense, we've been waiting as fans, and, I was actually at the game, so getting to see, first play of the game where right away we're attacking, and just sort of the offensive mentality that we took during that game was nice to see.
I think two things for me on the positive side. One is the philosophy, just the difference in the offensive side of the ball and the philosophy they went to that game with. We saw a little bit of it in preseason, but to know that's really what we're going to probably be seeing a lot this year. And then the other thing is I think there's a whole level of confidence with Joe Flacco. Just the way he approaches the game is different. He's in complete control. He looks like an experienced quarterback. He looks like the leader of the team. Like John mentioned earlier, the quarterback's the the toughest position to play in really any sport. You got to be the leader. I think he's really distinguished himself in that role now as a Raven. On the other side of the ball, the defense, there were some issues with some running the football, with the stopping the run. We'll have to see how that pans out. But overall, there wasn't a whole lot of bad things to say. I thought one of the key moments in the game was actually the first possession after Torrey Smith, had that big play down the field, and then we get stopped, and then Justin Tucker, the rookie kicker, has to kick a 46-yard field goal. If he misses that field goal, it changes the whole complexion of the game. That was kind of a side story because we won by such a large margin. But he made 3 kicks that night. That's got to bode well for his confidence moving forward.
All right, next question.
Bobby, that's a great point because those kicks were dead nuts straight. I mean, 46, we saw that in preseason. It doesn't matter if it's 19 or 46. You could put Arena League goal posts up there and he's going to make it. I mean, he kicks it right over the pipe.
All right, next question up.
You just mentioned about the opening play, Flacco to Smith. Does that remind you of anybody like in the past, maybe somebody like Johnny U? And are we going to see more of this? I'm wondering if this is the trend we're going to see from now on.
I totally thought it. When I look at him without his helmet on, he reminds all of Baltimore of Johnny U. I mean, he's got that look about him. But yeah, you definitely had that look in Flacco's eyes of I want it all, and I want it right now. So, I mean, to see him go for it and to see Torrey Smith catch the ball, which he wasn't really doing the first game last year, it was a nice change for us to see, what lies ahead. And I think this is really a breakthrough game for him.
Yeah, I actually expect to see more. It felt like the Ravens threw the ball much more than they actually did. It's because of the chunks of yards I think we actually got in the passing game. So I think we're actually going to take what the defense gives us, and that's really the smart play. So I think we're just going to see what happens, and I expect some games we're going to be chucking the ball all over the place, and other games we're going to see Ray Rice needing a break. He'll be running the ball so much.
Nice with first play of the game. I've seen that in the past with Johnny U. The first play, catch them right on their heels. I loved it.
Yeah, I thought right out of the get-go that was a statement play right there to go deep,
and that
whether
cover,
it worked or not.
And that cover too has given Joe, Joe a lot of problems. So looking off the safety and then hitting the guy that was open was definitely a big play mentally, just like Bob said.
Well, and let me address that because everybody talked about Joe struggling against the cover two in years past, but I'll contend again, we had possession receivers. We didn't have guys that had speed that could stretch the field and take both safeties away. We had underneath route runners, Derek Mason, T.J. Hushmanzada, Mark Clayton to a certain extent. So we didn't have the players to beat that defense. We saw last year Torrey Smith did that, and we had success all of a sudden. And I don't think it's by accident that all of a sudden this quote-unquote cover two that Joe's having trouble with, he didn't have the personnel to beat it with. Bottom line, our personnel played right into the hands of cover two. We didn't have anybody to get beyond them. So
and Jacoby Jones played a big role as receiver, which was somewhat surprising. We thought we'd see him more in special teams, but he's a receiver, that made some big catches and some big plays. And Joe, the one pass that Joe Flacco threw to him on the sideline was a laser. He threw it right over the defensive back's
against
head.
The cover two,
It was
in between the safety
great,
corner.
and not many quarterbacks can make that throw. And I tell you what, that was a great pass. And just going back to that initial play, the first play, not only will that play affect that game, but defenses now are going to think when the game starts, are they willing to do this? Because I've been watching Ravens games for a long time. I can't ever remember the Ravens taking a shot on the first play from scrimmage in any game in their history. So I think that's kind of makes a statement moving forward, not only for this game but also for this season.
Steve, the amount of formations, the different things they did, the reverses, the end arounds, whatever you want to call them, they threw so much out there. It's a lot for the Philadelphia Eagles or any team now going forward to have to think about and game plan for.
It definitely was, but I think they also got the benefit of the doubt, whereas Cincinnati didn't see it coming, whereas the next team is going to see what you've got because they have the previous game films to look at, whereas since he really didn't. But I mean, Marvin Lewis looked lost the entire game, and you heard it in the interview after the game where he was pretty frustrated with how it went. But, it was like you were saying earlier. I mean, we are a very tough team to match up with. I mean, when they put Ray out wide, and you had a linebacker on him, I was sitting there going, oh, please throw him the ball. Please throw him the ball.
I think they did the one time there. But let me ask you guys, good questions about the positives and negatives. I thought with Tucker, the offense, the offensive line for the most part, with the young guys plugged in there at left guard and right tackle. Let's go back, though, to one concern that I had, and you guys brought it up. This defense, though, against the running game, and this goes back to last year. I know Haloti Ngata was hurt much of the second half of last season, but this run defense of ours is not anywhere near what it used to be, if you ask me. It'll show up in spurts, but more and more teams are starting to gash us. I mean, Green Ellis had 18 for 91, averaging over 5 yards a carry. That's not going to get it done. And the disappointing thing is we have the personnel. They were starting a left guard who had never played there before. Jeff Fain, the center, had 2 padded practices at center. They didn't have their healthy offensive line, and they did this to us. John, I don't know what's going on or what you're seeing. Jameel McClain was yanked out for a good portion of the game. I don't know what's going on there, but they need to get this straightened out.
The interior of the line, Haloti Ngata was getting pushed around again.
But he also did have 2 sacks and 4 tackles.
I was getting ready to say it was masked by 2 sacks. So you can never say a defensive lineman has a bad game when you have 2 sacks, but it was masked. I mean, for the first half, he was getting pushed out of the way. Ben Jarvis, Green Ellis, like he did in the playoffs with the Patriots, just like he did at Monday Night the Bengals, ran right by Haloti Ngata. I mean, that guy needs to blow up the hole and clog the middle. So Ray Lewis can't shed blocks anymore. So, I mean, he's making his tackles 4 and 5 yards down the field. That's okay. The rules of the NFL now, they want us to be an offensive league. So the defense, so it's okay if we're going to score more points than we're going to allow. So as long as that happens and it all shakes out, whether we win 13-10 or 44-34, it really doesn't matter. But the defense is definitely slipping. That's why Joe needs to put the team on his back, and it looks like he's doing it so far.
Steve?
I think that we lost some people that you don't really think about. I mean, everybody talks about T-Sizzle, but we also lost J.J. and we lost Corey Redding. And then you had a guy, Ryan McBean, who was going to come in and replace him, who broke his ankle in the first preseason game. So, I mean, there's some guys that you were counting on who weren't great, but they were tough, and they were physical players. And they were the guys that we lost. And I think that's come. But it was good to see Upshaw have a sack there. And I think he's a guy that had to step up because, McCollum was actually getting blown off the ball in the first half. So, Upshaw sort of came on in the second half and took his place. So I think as the season progresses, we're going to see, better defensive effort in the second half of the year.
Bobby, your thoughts?
Well, I agree. I mean, if you're looking at the game as a whole, definitely a concern stopping the run. John Harbaugh said it in his press conference after the game. They need to do a better job at that. But one of the things the Ravens have always been good at, and they were good at on Monday night, was keeping the team out of the end zone.
Right.
That's key.
Red zone defense.
Red zone defense. And if we can, teams drive down the field. We've seen it time and time again. If we can get them to kick field goals, we're going to be able to outscore a lot of teams that way. So hopefully we can continue that. But I agree. We've got to do a better job stopping the run because, that's John said it this week in the press conference. That's where the defense starts with controlling the line of scrimmage.
And if you watch that AFC Championship game, the New England Patriots had some success there, and I didn't think they should have, and that kind of helped them. They ran as much as they threw against us in that game. Folks, we're going to be back with more as we preview the upcoming game against the Philadelphia Eagles. Also a special guest as well. It's a Ravens Wrap show here on Comcast Beach TV and Delmarva's Rock Radio, 93.5 The Beach.
Ravens Wrap is sponsored by Bud Light, Holiday Inn Express, the Ocean City Golf Club, Comfort Inn, Russell Street Report, the original Green Turtle, and hosted by the Blue Ox Bar and Grill.
Welcome to the Comfort Inn Gold Coast. Conveniently located just 1 block from the beach and adjacent to shopping at the Gold Coast Mall and the movie theater. Newly renovated and open year-round with a marvelous bayfront view. Visit us on the web at comfortgoldcoast.com and see our hot deals and great golf packages, or simply call our direct reservation line to plan your stay.